So everybody should see the message now. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you. I hope everybody is excited. Thank you so much to Bibi and Smriti, who couldn't be here, but we have Nick in place of Smriti, who will be assisting us today with, checking in with these graduating and transfer students. I mean, our promise students, y'all have worked so hard, tremendously hard. I am so proud of you. I know y'all campus coaches tell y'all all the time how proud of you that they are, but I just have to commend everybody who has worked extremely hard towards this point. This is a great accomplishment that each and every one of y'all should be so proud of. And I want to let you know that we're here to support y'all, make sure that you have a smooth transition with the Detroit Promise Scholarship. And we're going to get started here. So we still have some students that's heading in right now, but I'll go ahead and I'll just start my portion of the presentation from the beginning. So as you all know, the Detroit Promise, we partner with multiple institutions that are available for students that decide to transfer after they've completed their time at their two-year community colleges. Particularly with Wayne State University, a lot of our transfer students, as you know, some of you are here, a lot of you decide to transfer to Wayne State, which is one of our popular transfer institutions. So I just kind of want to run through some of the requirements needed in order to transfer with the scholarship. Before I do that, I do want to note that I have talked with many of you as your coaches have introduced us via email, and we've had a little bit of conversation back and forth about the requirements that are needed to transfer with the scholarship. But since we're all here today, I just want to make sure that we touch base on that just in case anybody has any questions or concerns. So to get started here, everybody, regardless of what two-year community college that you are at right now, you just need to make sure that you have a 3.0 GPA. No exceptions. I want to emphasize this GPA requirement because I have had students in the past who were like a hair off of that 3.0 GPA. And they wanted to, kind of like will, and say, hey, can I still get the scholarship? But the scholarship is very particular about these requirements. So I like to let students know ahead of time, just in case, you're wrapping up your last couple of semesters. You want to try to make sure that you're meeting with your academic advisor, meeting with your campus coach to ensure that you have that 3.0 GPA. In addition to that 3.0 GPA, you want to make sure that you have 58 credits to transfer over to Wayne State with the Detroit Promise Scholarship. Now, these 58 credits, sometimes a lot of students may ask, well, do it have to be transferable? The answer is no, which is something that I actually just learned, I'd say maybe like a month ago. Now, it used to be transferable, but I think the scholarship has changed it since then, and now they're just requiring that you just have 58 credits by the time you graduate at your two-year college before you transfer. Now, this may be different, for students who are transferring to Wayne State University in a particular program. So let's say maybe you're a med student, and you want to continue your area of study, studying medicine once you transfer to Wayne State. Wayne State might actually have different GPA and credit requirements different from the scholarship, because again, you're entering into another program who has their own set of standards. Now, if, for example, you are a med student and, you talk with an academic advisor at Wayne State and they say, well, yeah, you need a 3.3 GPA and you got to have 62 credits in order to, be in the program once you transfer over, then your credits or your requirements for the scholarship would change at that point. So again, it's just all dependent upon what your area of study is. If you don't have a particular area of study as of right now, or if that area of study doesn't have like any major requirements, you can just continue to follow the requirements for the 3.0 GPA and 58 credits in order to get the Detroit Promise Scholarship. Does anybody have any questions about the 3.0 GPA and the 58 credits or more in order to transfer? If not, then what we can do is save all of those questions to the end of the meeting and give everybody an opportunity to just kind of chime in. But moving on here, I recently learned that Wayne State University is offering free tuition to students earning lower than a particular amount of income. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but we do have our Wayne State University representatives here today that can really give us some information on that, because it might be helpful to kind of know where Detroit Promise students would stand with that. Because, you know, if you're going to be getting free tuition, you know, where does that stand with the scholarship if you actually need it? But that's neither here or there. Moving forward, the next important component of this Detroit Promise Scholarship is to make sure that your FAFSA is completed. So many of the students that's here right now, you know, every year FAFSA comes out in October, and you know how important it is to make sure that it's completed so that, you know, you can start your classes and you can be good to go. The new FAFSA application is out. This is the 2023-2024 FAFSA application. Just make sure that, you know, you get that completed and get that taken care of. And the next point here is not really needed, but it's always something that I recommend. So to some of my students here at Schoolcraft College, I always tell them to try to get, you know, as many recommendation and statement letters as they can before they graduate from their 2-year. And the reason being is just because, again, you know, you never know once you transfer to Wayne State, you never know what that recommendation letter might come in handy for, or what that statement letter might come in handy for. So it's just a good practice that I recommend all graduating and transfer students do. The next component here is, of course, the main component, which is the transfer scholarship application, which I'm going to share with everybody in the chat just as soon as I'm done wrapping everything up. And actually, this is the application. So before you actually are transferred over to Wayne State, you know, you have to complete your FAFSA, and then you have to fill out the application in order to get admitted into Wayne State. So, you know, you can't just say, oh, you know, I'm a Wayne State student, and they like trying to find you and they can't find you nowhere because you never applied to the institution. So you want to make sure that you apply just as you had to apply to your 2-year college, so that, you know, they can get you registered as a student. Now, after you completed your FAFSA application, after you've applied to Wayne State University and you got accepted, now the next thing that you are going to want to do is you're going to want to complete the transfer scholarship acceptance letter. What this form is to basically record your eligibility for the scholarship. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your GPA, we're going to take a look at your credits and make sure that you qualify. Once that information is solidified, it gets sent over to Wayne State, and then it goes from there. Students are always free to contact me via email to check in and say, hey, Syrena, you know, I just want to see if my scholarship form has gotten approved yet, so on and so forth. So these are just kind of like the main important steps, again, that I like for students, transfer students to be working towards prior to graduating and transferring. But as I stated in the beginning, you know, if you have any questions about anything that was mentioned as far as, you know, the requirements needed to transfer with the scholarship, then if you feel more comfortable, we can save all of those questions towards the end. And then I'll stop sharing here. And for some of those who didn't get a chance to come in, I just want to say thank you to Bibi and to Nick, who was able to join us today to help us with the Promise students that's going to be transferring to Wayne State. So please make sure that you're giving them your undivided attention. And then I will pass it along to whether Nick or Bibi, whoever wants to share their presentation next.
I can go first if you don't mind, Bibi,
Mhm.
because I think the money part is the important part for them and today and what this meeting is about. So I do want to share some information about Wayne State. Normally, chivalry isn't dead. I let the ladies go first, but because of the order of importance, it's a great group of people here today. And so I want to thank you guys for allowing us to speak. I'm going to share some information about Wayne State and also the application process, the application admission process and the deadline dates, things like that that are pertinent to you. But we also want you, like Syrena's mentioned, to certainly ask us questions at the end. Don't be afraid of that. There are no
Mhm.
questions that are unrealistic to answer because I was once in your seat. So I certainly want to open the floor to you. But let me share some information with you. So I guess I can do a screen share here. And let's see. And then what you guys can do is just let me know, one of the hosts, if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can
Okay,
see it.
great. So as you all know, I've been, and just kind of give you a little history of myself. I've been at Wayne State for 21 years, so that's probably older than most of you in this room. And so I've seen a lot of great things happen at Wayne State, Midtown area and the like. So we're always excited to share some information about my home school and the city from which I'm from, Detroit, Michigan. And so let me just share you some information about Wayne State. And then, like I said, should you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or you can ask at the end there. So let's just give you a little history of our institution. So Wayne State's been around since 1868. Our very first name was the Detroit Medical College. So we were founded by 5 former Civil War doctors who saw the atrocities of the Civil War. And they decided, well, what can we do to make things better for the people in the area? And so that's how Wayne State started in its humble beginnings. And so since that period of time, since 1868 and 150 plus years, Wayne State's been impacting the area, the metro area, for a number of years. And we went through several name changes, Detroit College of Teachers. And incidentally, I will cut my camera back on. I'm not a robot. It's just that the line is in the way of the presentation. So I do apologize for that. And then we became Wayne University at one point, and then in 1956, we became Wayne State University. And you can see currently we're among the largest universities in the state of Michigan. We're the 3rd largest school in the state. There's a school in East Lansing and a school in Ann Arbor that's a little bit bigger than us. But from a academic standpoint, we're the same type of school, and I'll get into that shortly. And so in the nation, we're among the top 50 largest institutions, and many of you may not know that. So oftentimes I tell high school students that I meet with in Oakland County, for example, if I don't see you now, and if you don't come to Wayne State, I'm gonna see you later. That means we got a lot of master's and PhD programs here at Wayne State, one of the biggest graduate schools in the state as well as the country. And our students come from 47 states, and you may not know this too. California, believe it or not, is our 2nd largest feeder state. So they leave the sunny palm trees of California to come all the way here to cold Michigan, and they're attracted to our programs nationally. And they get all 5 seasons, of course, and that's pothole season. They get that one too. And so they're attracted to our programs nationally and then globally. You can see we have a large number of international countries where our students reside and attend Wayne State. And Canada right now is the largest feeder for us, obviously with Canada being right across the Detroit River all the way up to Toronto. And then we have a lot of study abroad opportunities for our students to study in other countries. So that if you've ever thought about that, this would be a unique time to do it, especially at the undergraduate level, where you can save a lot of money to go into foreign countries, go to 5 different continents at Wayne State and more than 20 plus countries. Next, I'm sorry. So next you'll see what we're made up of, 13 schools and colleges, and just about any major you can think of. There are a few exceptions, but we even have unique programs like mortuary science. We are the only school in the Midwest that offer that bachelor's degree in mortuary, but we have 13 schools and colleges, schools like our Mike Ilitch School of Business or our College of Education, College of Engineering, Fine and Performing Arts. There's nursing has its own college at Wayne State. We have a College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, Information Sciences. We have a med school, a law school, and pharmacy and health sciences. So we got just about anything you can think of. And we have a 16-to-1 currently student to faculty ratio. That means our faculty know who our students are. Even though we're a large institution, we have relatively small class sizes. The average class size at Wayne State is roughly 25 to 30 students, and that's been over the last 10 years. So we're a big school with relatively small class sizes. Now you'll see some briefly some rankings of some of our top programs at Wayne State, but almost all of our programs in our schools and colleges are ranked and they're fully accredited. So you can see some of the national publications and what they say about us, which you see our Mike Ilitch School of Business, our med school, our law school, highly ranked programs there, and there are several others. Wayne State's designated as a Carnegie One research school. You might say, well, what does that mean for me as a student? Well, Carnegie One simply means that you're learning from some of the best faculty in the nation. These faculty have done extensive research, and not every school get to be a Carnegie One. There's only 300 plus in the US. There's 3 in Michigan, and I can name them. We make up what's called a University Research Corridor. That would be Wayne State University, Michigan State, and the University of Michigan. We are the 3 Carnegie Ones. Incidentally, we're the 3 largest schools. And so together, the 3 schools produce about 95% of all research dollars to the state's economy here in Michigan. Student life, there's lots of fun things to do here at Wayne State. As you can see, there are over 500 plus student organizations. There's national fraternities, sororities, interest groups, academic groups, religious groups, cultural groups. We make our students feel all inclusive. And they got some unique ones. There's even a squirrel feeding group there. And so we got some unique ones here at Wayne State. And then you can cheer on our Wayne State Warriors. We have 18 varsity teams, which also include cheerleading. And transfer students can do it as well. If you still have eligibility left, consider being a Wayne State Warrior. A varsity player, we win what's called a Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. And we play the likes of Saginaw Valley State, Ferris State, and Grand Valley. Basically, we're Division II in athletics. The only exception would be fencing, which is a Division I sport. But we also have intramural as well as club sports here at Wayne State. If you have eligibility, you may do so. And one thing I do want to share with you guys about that we're really excited about is recently, I don't know if you're familiar with the Detroit Pistons and their G League affiliate, the Motor City Cruise. Well, Wayne State recently asked them if they had a place to play. They moved from Grand Rapids last year. And they said no, and they were looking for a place to play. And our recent athletic director reached out to them and said, hey, how about playing here at Wayne State? So we showed them off our facility, and the Pistons said, well, we were thinking of something more on the pro level. So
I'm
guess what they
sorry,
did?
Nick. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I don't think we can see your current slide. If you need to, you can stop sharing, and then if you reshare, it should show your current slide.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try this again. Can you guys see that now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I do apologize for that. So essentially what they did was they built us a stadium free of charge. And so guess who plays there? Our men and women's hoop team, along with the Motor City Cruise. So it's not uncommon. You can see a Cade Cunningham or someone else rehabbing right on our own campus. So we're really excited about that. Next. So next is housing. I don't know if you guys can see that slide. It kind of paused a little bit. Okay, great. So, and I'll be brief. So we got housing for, you can see roughly 3,500 students in 7 different type of residence halls, apartments, and suites at Wayne State. And they are modern. And when I say modern, that means internet accessible, cable ready, things like that. Some of them have some great views of the city of Detroit. So many more students are starting to live on our campus too, as well as transfer students, especially in the new Anthony Wayne Drive apartments. I know when I was in college, we had what they call, and I'm going to date myself, they had dormitories. And you know what that is? That means walking in your flip-flops to a community bathroom. Well, at Wayne State, you don't have to do that. All of that's in the comfort of your own room. And so students have the option to live on campus, or they can commute. So, and you can have a car. I know some schools restrict vehicles, so you don't have to give your car to your younger brother or sister or family member. So you can bring that here on campus. Now, with respect to the application process, those students who are considering transferring to Wayne State, there are certain dates that we like you to adhere to, and for a number of reasons, for scholarship reasons, as well as the start of the semester. So if you're looking to begin applying to Wayne State, it's 3 easy steps. The first is that you would apply online. You would use the university application, and it's a $25 application fee. However, if you are a first generation student, military veteran, or a former foster care student, then you would have your application fee waived. And then there are certain events where we may have an open house event where we would waive the application fee. But if you're looking to start in the fall semester, Of course, the latest deadline to apply to get everything to us would be August 15th. If it's the winter semester, it would be December 1st. And if it's our spring summer semester, it would be April 1st. And then the students would then submit their official transcript. When we say official, that means the transcript must come from your institution to us. Please don't let them put it in your hands, because if you bring it to our office, it's going to be unofficial. So it has to come from that institution to us. And then the last step, of course, is looking at transfer process. So when students get all of their transcripts to us, we will render a decision within 10 to 15 business days or less. So keep that in mind, not when you apply, but when everything has been received by our office. What we require is the student have a 2.5 or higher cumulative GPA and 24 transferable credit hours. That meets our transfer student admission requirement. However, if students have less than 24 transferable credit hours, then they will need to submit their high school credentials, and then we'll look at the high school credentials to see if a student still meets our admission requirement. And we do a holistic review, so there's no set GPA or test score or things like that. We just want to see that a student is showing rigor, meaning they're taking difficult classes, and as a result, you may have a lower GPA. But I just wanted to highlight that. And then you can see, and this slide speaks for itself, and you are admissible. And we will admit a student with an associate's degree or bachelor's degree with a 2.0 or higher GPA, because sometimes students have been to multiple schools. It will take them a while to get their GPA up to a 2.5. So we will honor the associate's or the bachelor's degree with a 2.0 or higher. Now, here's some important websites. I only got a couple more slides to show you. These will be very helpful if you have a cell phone out. You can take a snapshot of that. The first is our transfer admission website. We'll give you all of the details about applying to Wayne State as a transfer student. Shows you how to obtain information regarding transfer credit in the form of our transfer guide, which is really helpful for many students. And by the way, we have equivalency tables, the third bullet point, for every college in the state of Michigan, whether it's a community college or a four-year institution. And then last but not least, of course, you see the Transfer Student Success Center. That's an office that was recently created, and they work with students if they're just inquiring, such as yourself. They can do an unofficial transfer credit evaluation to tell you how many credits we're going to accept, things like that. And they work with our transfer students in that regard. And then lastly, of course, the Transfer Scholarship website, which certainly we are a very generous school. We have a lot of wealthy donors who give us donations in the form of departmental and private scholarships related to majors. And what's important, and I think Bibi's going to get into that, is that students fill out the free application for federal student aid. It's imperative that you do so. I know a lot of times when I'm talking with students and parents, they say, well, I don't want the government in my business. Well, I always say my rebut to them, I got news for you. The government is in your business. So there's free money out there. So certainly take advantage of it. And the ideal thing is to fill that FAFSA form out. And you see the dates there by June 1st. If you're looking to transfer in the fall, and by October 1st, if you're looking to transfer in the winter, because we have some generous merit transfer scholarships for students. So again, if you're applying to Wayne State as a transfer student, because our scholarships are only offered in the fall and the winter semesters, apply by June 1st for the fall term and October 1st for the winter. And this concludes my part of the presentation. And certainly I want to answer your questions. This is my direct phone number and email address. This is how we make Wayne State a smaller school, even though we're a large school. So feel free to reach out to us should you have any questions outside of today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick, for that very informative presentation about Wayne State. Everybody, if you have any questions, you can, either again, save them towards the end of the meeting, or you can start dropping them in the chat. I did have a question for Nick. So when students are going to apply to Wayne State University, of course, there are different applications that they can do. They can either do the general admissions application or a transfer application. Since our promise students are transferring to Wayne State, is there a particular application that they need to complete?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question, because there's a lot of confusion. If you've earned college credit after high school, you are by definition a transfer student. So certainly fill out the transfer application. Oftentimes there's a lot of what they call early colleges out there where students are earning dual enrollment credit while at the same time obtaining their associate's degree. If you're in an early college program, then you would apply as an incoming freshman. I just want to make that distinction. So you qualify for the best scholarships that incoming freshmen qualify for. So, but otherwise, if you've taken any credit, even if it's one credit after you graduated from high school, then by definition, you are a transfer student. And you would fill out the university application. There's no need to do the Common App, which can really complicate things because the Common App, you're applying to multiple schools. So keep that in mind. I hope that answered your question there.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. That made a lot of sense because like I said, sometimes students will get that mixed up, and I'll get it mixed up too on which application they should be completing. So that is very helpful to know. But other
Thank
than
you.
that,
And that's a common mistake, by the way. So, we're still trying to get out in the hinterlands and tell folks that early college programs, even though you're earning an associate's degree, is by definition a high school student. So we just want to draw that distinction. Thank you.
Thank you. And then really quickly, I just want to answer this question before we pass it along to Bibi. So someone said, do we have to start or technically transfer in this upcoming fall semester? Can we start at a later semester? For example, the winter 2024 semester. The answer is technically yes, but I want everybody to be mindful about when they're planning to transfer. So you don't want to wait too long to transfer with the Promise Scholarship specifically. The Promise Scholarship actually recommends that if you're going to be transferring, that you do it within that year that you graduated. So say, for example, if you're graduating this winter 2023 semester, you want to try to get transferred over to Wayne State University before winter 2024. So again, you just want to do it within that year because again, it can get pretty particular or pretty specific if you are trying to transfer and all this time done pass. So the organization or the scholarship recommends that, I just tell everybody transfer as soon as possible. And then if there are no other questions as of right now, we'll go ahead and pass it along to Bibi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bibi Ahmed, and I am one of the financial aid officers here at Wayne State University. So I'm going to pull up a slideshow as well. Hopefully I can share my screen with everybody. Okay, can everyone see my screen too? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to be talking here today with you about the financial aid process here at Wayne State. So, of course, here at Wayne State, our mission is to have you graduate because you invest a lot of your time, a lot of money here getting your degree. So the Office of the Student Financial Aid is here to help the students and your families with, coordinating available resources to assist with the college expenses, the yearly application process, along with figuring out a budget that you will have throughout the academic year. So what is financial aid? These are funds that the student and the families can use to help pay for the cost of college. Now, the first most important ones I like to talk about are grants and scholarships, because these are the funds that do not have to be repaid. Next up, we have student loans and work study. Now, loans, however, is money that you borrow to pay for college, and they do need to be repaid, after you graduate. And they mostly come from federal and private resources. There's also work study, which basically is that you are working on campus to earn these funds. And these funds you, again, use to help pay for school. These, again, are also, this work study is based on need. So that is very important, like my colleague Nick mentioned, to file your FAFSA to be considered for both the loans, work studies, and also the federal Pell Grant, which I will talk about a little bit later. So this transfer student scholarships and grants. So here at Wayne State University Awards, we have, of course, the Detroit Promise. We also have admissions merit scholarships. Now, these are, again, based on GPA and optional test scores. We have talent-based, as they are, based on your talent. And we also have private scholarship, which our application for these run from October 1st through March 1st of the following year. So the federal and state awards, these are mostly need-based. And so, of course, as I mentioned, and along with Nick, the FAFSA is required to see if you're eligible for these awards. The federal Pell Grant is the most common type. And again, this is money that is given to students from the Department of Education. And again, this federal Pell Grant is not money you need to pay back. We also have outside scholarships through organizations. Now, the transfer student, again, merit scholarships. We have competitive awards based on your admissions application. You must have a minimum of 30 transferable credits and a GPA of 3.25. And a completed Wayne State admissions application must be received by June 1st of 2023 for the upcoming fall 2023 and October 1st of 2023 for the winter 2024 semester. Now, the merit awards offered to transfer students. The first one is our Warrior Award, which you can earn up to $6,000 per year for 2 years, so $12,000 altogether. Our Gold Award, which is up to $4,000 per year for 2 years, so $8,000. Our Green Award, which is up to $2,000 per year for 2 years, so $4,000 there. And our Pathway Award, which is up to $1,000 per year for 2 years, so $2,000. Now, for this one, you must have a minimum of 24 transferable credits and a GPA of 3.0, so which is a little bit less than the other awards. Okay, so as I mentioned, the private scholarship application, this is all done online through Wayne State University Scholarship Universe. So these includes scholarship awards for specific Wayne State schools and colleges as well. The application, again, is open in late fall, October 1st, as I mentioned, until March 1st of the following year. And these are, of course, funded through the generosity of private donors. And you may apply if you are already an admitted student who is planning to enroll at Wayne State for the upcoming fall semester. Now, these scholarships are awarded based on a variety of factors and also include a review of your FAFSA, GPA, and your completed admissions application. So the scholarship requirements. So many awards require full-time enrollment. Now, for full-time enrollment, this is 12 credits, 12 credit hours for each semester, but we encourage you to enroll for at least 15 credits to stay on track for graduation. And the 12 credits are for during fall semester and also winter semester. Now, many have a GPA and credits earned requirements to retain the awards. So many awards do require that you earn 30 credits each academic year. Now, I just want to throw in here that if you just enroll for 12 credits in fall and 12 credits in the winter, which would still put you at full time, then you must make up the remaining credits, which would be 6 credits, during the spring summer semester. So you can make sure you're retaining your award for the 30 credits. Now, some awards do require that you file your FAFSA every year. Now, it's good to do that anyway, because again, you look to see if you are eligible for federal financial aid, like the federal Pell Grant and loans. So again, many awards do have that March 1st FAFSA deadline as well. Now, financial aid awards cannot exceed the financial aid cost of attendance. Cost of attendance includes tuition, fees, estimates for books, housing, food, and other miscellaneous expenses. Now, I just want to again add that the cost of attendance, these are estimates. These are not what you would actually pay for, because you will find that some of these, like for books or your housing or food, could be a lot less. So we tend to be very generous with giving you your cost of attendance, so that way you and your family can budget to know what you would have to pay throughout the academic year. Now, the Detroit Promise for transfer students. So we fill the gap between federal, state, and other Wayne State aid, and the full cost of in-state tuition and standard fees. Now, as you can see, there's a little example here on the right-hand side. Now, the requirements for this, of course, you have to complete an associate degree or minimum of 58 credit hours, have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, meet Wayne State University's admission requirements, and also complete your free application of federal student aid, or FAFSA as we like to say for short. Again, full-time enrollment is required, and it's renewable up to 2 consecutive years for fall and winter semesters. And of course, if you need more information, you can look at the DetroitPromise.com right there with it for the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce website. Okay, so applying for federal aid. So you must complete the 2023-2024 free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, at studentaid.gov/FAFSA. Now, our Wayne State school code is listed right here, 002329. Now, I must encourage you to write down that school code, because when you file your FAFSA, there is a Wayne State College, which is out in Nebraska. So you want to make sure that they do not receive your FAFSA, that it's Wayne State University here in Detroit, Michigan that does. So why file your FAFSA? So this information is used to award financial aid. And of course, some private scholarships require the FAFSA, and it is required for federal and state aid. So the state of Michigan has a deadline of May 1st. So the state of Michigan offers the competitive scholarship and the Michigan Tuition Incentive Program awards. So the application process, as Syrena had mentioned, the FAFSA is available every year beginning October 1st. Now, you're going to make sure to file the 2023-2024 FAFSA, which is going to require you to use the 2021 income and tax information for both you and your parents, or if you're considered an independent student, just you. And of course, we do hold FAFSA Fridays. If you have any questions, I do have the little link down there listed where you can find what days are available that we will be holding a FAFSA Friday. Sometimes we have morning sessions, and sometimes we have afternoon sessions. And you can also sign up for additional sessions if you like. Okay, so filing your FAFSA. So you can do that online at studentaid.gov/FAFSA. Now, this has built-in edits that prevent costly errors. It also has skip logic that allows student and or the parent to skip unnecessary questions. It also allows you to use the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, data retrieval tool, which helps to pull the information for the income and tax for your parents and perhaps yourself if you filed taxes back in 2021. Now, this also reduces documents required by the financial aid office. Now, approximately 1/6 of all FAFSA applicants are selected for verification. So we are here to help you with the process. And verification is something that's determined by Department of Education, not Wayne State University. Okay, so federal aid programs. There are need-based grants like the federal Pell Grant, as I mentioned. There's also another one called the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, or FSEOG, as we say for short. We also have federal work study, as I had mentioned. We also have federal loan programs. The federal direct loans are subsidized and unsubsidized. Now, I do want to add, the subsidized loan is one that does not earn interest while you are in school. So if you need to use a loan and you're offered this one, this would be the better one to choose. And also you are offered an unsubsidized loan. Now, if you choose to use this one, know that this one does earn interest while you are in school if you use it. Now, if you are a dependent student, the Department of Education also allows your parent to apply for a Parent Plus loan. This does require a credit check for your parent. So not for you, but for your parent. Okay, so what will it cost? So included in your Wayne State e-bill, we will show you direct costs, like tuition and fees, on-campus housing, and a meal plan. Now you may pay out of pocket, which we call indirect costs, for books and supplies, transportation, rent, meals, cell phone, parking. Now, the net costs, calculating your net cost can help you with college decisions. So right here again, I have an example for the tuition and fees plus housing and food plus books and supplies equals cost. So after that, from the cost, we subtract out the amount of your scholarships, then the amount of your grants, and that equals your net cost. And this net cost you can determine if you have enough gift aid to cover your costs, and the amount of other resources you may need to cover the cost, like loans, payment plans, things like that. Now, consider your direct costs, like your tuition, fees, housing, and a meal plan, and your indirect costs, books, supplies, and personal expenses every time you go and apply for financial aid. All right, and how you can contact the Office of Student Financial Aid? Well, you can contact us via email at studentservice@wayne.edu. For general financial aid information, you can visit us at wayne.edu/financial aid. And of course, for more information regarding scholarships, you can visit us at wayne.edu/scholarships. Again, I do want to add, you are also able to reach out to us financial aid officers via email, phone call. We do have walk-in appointments as well on the first floor of our Welcome Center. If a lot of you have been to our campus, you would see our Welcome Center is on the corner of Woodward and Warren Avenues. So we always have a financial aid officer available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on the first floor. And again, it's walk-ins appointments. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bibi. So everybody, we have about 15 minutes to, just start shooting out these questions. I'll try to stay maybe about like 10 minutes afterwards, just because, we want to be respectful to everybody's schedule. But let's go ahead and, start putting some stuff in the chat, and then we can just take turns tackling each question. Maria has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So I've already applied to Wayne State, and my question is basically, I don't finish at Henry Ford until next summer semester. So how would I go about sending my transcripts over?
Sure, I can answer that question for you. Maria, are you planning on, you're going to start at Wayne State and the plan is next year?
The plan was for this fall, if possible.
Sure. So even though you're going to finish your studies there next year, you can still submit your transcript thus far. And so what we would then do is evaluate you for admission consideration based off what you've done already. And then once you, let's say you're admitted for the fall, then you can start taking classes. And then once you're finished with your program there at Henry Ford, then I would ask you to send us an updated transcript. And that updated transcript, we can then add the additional credits on, if that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
No problem, because a lot of times students think if they don't have their associate's degree, they can't send their transcript to us. We actually want you to send it to us for scholarship deadlines. I think Bibi and myself both we scream at the top of our lungs. There's lots of merit scholarship money out there. So we certainly want you to take part in that and have that reserved. And then the other part is the icing on the cake. You can get additional credit at the community college. And that wasn't always the case years ago. Once you were admitted, then years ago, schools would not allow you to submit other additional transcripts unless you were a guest student at that institution. So we partnered with the Pathways to allow students to submit as many credits as they want from the community college. One downside to it from a financial aid standpoint is that you don't want to overexert yourself with your federal aid money.
Mhm.
So I've seen students with multiple associate degrees, and that's not always good because sometimes you might exhaust your funding. And I'll let Bibi speak to that, but we don't want that to happen.
Right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, just to add to my colleague, what Nick said, yes, the Department of Education does put limits for the amount of, especially the amount of federal Pell Grant you can receive. The federal Pell Grant will only pay for your first undergraduate degree, your first bachelor's. So any degrees, once you complete your first bachelor's, any undergraduate degree that you want to get after that, unfortunately, you will not be able to use your federal Pell Grant. Now, you do have federal loans. Again, these are also depending on your dependency. If you're a dependent student, meaning that, you still, live with your parents, or, your parents are still able to financially provide for you, things like that, then again, there's even different amounts for loans as well. If you're an independent student where your parents don't pay for anything for you, or you don't live, for whatever reasons, because you're married, you're in grad school, you've got your own children, things like that, then the Department of Education will be a little more generous with the loans because they know that you're mostly paying a lot of this yourself. But again, there are limits. So you can always check your limits and on your accounts at student8.gov, which I kept, again, where you can also apply for your FAFSA. That's a good resource to use. I'll put it in the chat as well. Yeah, so you definitely need to be mindful of that for sure.
Okay, thank you. And there's just a couple of questions in the chat. I know I answered one already, but there's another good question. So a student says that they plan to transfer in the winter 2024 semester, but they don't know when the social work program starts for their bachelor's degree. So I know previously in the chat, I mentioned that students should probably want to check in with an academic advisor, but either Nick or Bibi, do you have any other recommendations that would be useful?
And that's good information too. Always check with the academic advisor because from what I've learned being at Wayne State 21 years, sometimes the schools and colleges are privy to some information that we're not. And you always want to get it from the horse's mouth, meaning in this case, social work. Maybe they're starting the program in the summer. Maybe they're starting in the fall this year. So that could change for them. So certainly I would reach out to an academic advisor for social work. If you have trouble locating them, by all means, reach out to me and then I would forward you the information for the academic advisor so you can get in touch with them. I did notice a question too, Syrena. There was someone asking about a gap year, I believe Sarah. And I do want to answer that question. You can take a gap year. When you decide to do so, just let us know, particularly if you've received a scholarship, a merit scholarship, because you want to retain that scholarship. But we have to have something in writing. So submit an email to us. Say, hey, I'd like to do a gap year. We'll put it on your application file. But then what you'll want to do is reapply for the semester you plan on returning, because we can't fill out a new app for you. So you just have to fill out the application, the new app, and then we'll move all of your information you've already submitted from your old app to your new application. I just wanted to answer that question.
And then I just want to add to that before we move on to Malik, because Malik has their hand raised. So be mindful that if you're going to have a Detroit Promise Scholarship at Wayne State, you cannot take any gap years. The scholarship does not allow any gap years. And in addition to that, I want to make sure that students know that the Detroit Promise covers an academic year. So they'll only be covering the fall and the winter semesters. So if a student decides to take classes in the summer while you're at Wayne State, then you'll either want to look into like other FAFSA means to pay for those classes, or there's like a ton of scholarships out there, ton of scholarships that's just there waiting for students to utilize. You can use those funds as well to cover those classes, but I definitely wanted to emphasize with the scholarship, there are no gap years. And it's
Thank
good
you for,
for-
yeah, that's very important to
Mhm.
know. And also, if you are going to go summer, as she was mentioning, maybe consider doing, you know, guest status at a community college. It's going to be a lot
Mhm.
cheaper out of pocket. So that way you're not exhausting your financial aid fund.
Yes, that was a great point. Okay. And then we have Malik. Sorry, I know you had your hand raised for a while. What was your question?
Yes, you guys kind of just answered my question. It was regarding like taking summer classes off. Already been admitted to Wayne and kind of had, you know, planning to take some courses in the summer, but I was wondering if the Detroit Promise covered that, but you kind of just answered that. So thank you.
Yes. Yep, you're welcome. Yep. So unfortunately, we don't cover summer classes, but just as Nick said, like you can, if you're taking any summer classes, you can take it at like your local community college. I know I did it when I was in undergrad, just because, as Nick said, it is way more affordable to take those summer classes at a 2-year institution rather than a 4-year.
Mhm.
And then a question that I had that may be helpful for everyone to know. So in the news recently, I've seen that Wayne State is offering free tuition to students making under a certain amount of income. Could either Bibi or Nick, could you kind of validate, you know, like if that's true or?
Well, yes, I can speak to the incoming freshmen because I know it was, you know, that's where a lot of the emphasis were. And I'll let BB speak to the transfer. For students who, with making the income, household income, $70,000 or less, as noted by the free application for federal student aid, and or have $50,000 confirmed assets or less, they would qualify for what we call the Wayne State Guarantee, which is a top-off award. So we would then cover full tuition, meaning it would be no out-of-pocket expenses for students. So the student must show need too. That's very important to know because there's this misnomer out there that we're offering free tuition, but there is a caveat to it. So, and that's where the free application for federal student aid is so important. And, you know, we really want to hammer that point home that that's the crux of everything. Our, not only those scholarships, but our departmental and private scholarships as well are dictated by the free application for federal student aid.
Yes, and going along with what Nick said, unfortunately, as transfer students, the Wayne State Guarantee unfortunately doesn't apply because it's only for incoming freshman students. So you know, that's why we have our transfer merit scholarships to help you out, you know, like our wonderful Detroit Promise. And again, you still are eligible for other federal financial aid too, and other Wayne State private scholarships. So, you know, again, you can still get, you know, work study and your loans too.
Very good point. What's happening out there is the news did a big story, which it was a huge story. And Wayne State's been trying to make college affordable for students for a number of years. But when you get a news story, sometimes you get the headline, Wayne State offering free tuition.
Mhm.
And so that not only travels in this area, but it goes to Ohio, it goes to Illinois, Indiana. And so there's this thing that, hey, they're giving away free to it. And that's not the case. And no school does that. There is boundaries, there is guidelines for a set of those kind of things when you see that advertisement. But yes, I will say this, last year, and this, I'm speaking to transfer students, but I know our high school students, over 46% of those students last year was fully covered. So we made a significant dent, but what Wayne State did do this year to help make it affordable for transfer students is now they've added these additional scholarship opportunities. Now, it used to be just for community college students. So now 4-year public transfer students can now get these merit scholarships. So we're really excited about that.
Thank you. And then it looks like Malik has another question.
Yeah, I was wondering, because online it says for that scholarship, it says first year student. So that would be categorized as a technical like freshman, or because when I think
That's,
first year student,
yeah,
Yes.
okay,
that's
Yeah.
correct, Malik. Yeah, that's a freshman or incoming student. They have all kind of nicknames. The acronym FIDIAC, or
Mhm.
first time in any college. That refers to a student coming from high school specifically. But we didn't forget about the transfer students. Even in the case of the College of Engineering, their scholarships start at the sophomore year. So that means that we understand that even when you're transfer students, you're going to have a higher bill because oftentimes you're coming in with a lot of credit. So you become a junior and a senior, so tuition goes up based on that. However, we've adjusted to go accordingly to help out more transfer students as well. But thank you for that question and the insight, because it's going to be very helpful in dispelling a lot of those, misnomers that are out there.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then there was a really good question in the chat that I would also like to know too. So a student said, so are transfer students not eligible for the Wayne State University free tuition?
That one is a tricky one to answer. They're not eligible for the one that's advertised, a Wayne State guarantee. We can say that for certain,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean a transfer student is not eligible for some way, shape, or form of free tuition. A large part of that is going to depend on the student's eligibility or need, and that's going to be dictated by the student aid report from the free application for federal student aid. If a student shows need or Pell eligible, that's a really good sign for transfer students, because we are trying to offset costs. I'll let Bibi speak to that for transfer. So we do get really creative to help those transfer students. The key is applying early too. I don't want to say that lightly, because oftentimes students will think, well, I can come in August and start in the fall, but what kind of face they have, they call what we call August face for transfer, as well as incoming freshmen who wait to the last minute. You want to apply early and often, beginning October through March. Those are the prime times to apply for the free application for federal student aid for the following academic year.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of it, as transfer students, again, those transfer merit scholarships, again, the federal aid, I highly suggest look at our scholarship universe. It's basically, it's wonderful. It's one, I guess you could say, one website. It's got a list of all different the scholarships, the eligibility requirements for the scholarships, things like that. Again, like I mentioned in my presentation, certain colleges and schools offer, their own awards as well, based on, private donors or, some other sources. And it's a very good resource. So I highly recommend look at that. Again, it's mostly just like, Nick and I had said, scholarship application runs from October 1st through March 1st, but there are some, you may have a few in there that may have an extended deadline beyond the March 1st. Doesn't hurt to check it out and see, if you're eligible for those. Yeah, I will tell you, everyone who knows me, I'm a strong proponent for going for as much of the quote unquote free money. Probably shouldn't use that term, as much as you can, because that way it's, less money you have to pay back afterwards. Use your loans as the last resort. I get it. There's times when you may need them, and that's okay, of course. But just know that that's going to be money you're going to have to repay, not only that amount, that bulk amount, but like I mentioned, the subsidized loans are the ones that do not earn interest. So pretty much go with those ones first if you are offered those. And if you have to, then go for the unsubsidized loan. Again, that's the one that does earn interest while you're in school. So, yeah, I mean, And I did include my email address too. So if you have any additional questions or want to reach out to me, especially if you want to talk about your own individual situation, you feel free to do so. And because I know, this is a very public forum, so we don't want to talk about your own private matters here.
Yeah, thank you, Bibi. And I will actually be following up with everybody come Monday, next Monday, just kind of like a wrap up, from like today's session, and also making sure that I provide everybody with this meeting as it was recorded and uploaded on YouTube, just for everybody to re-review, and also for students who didn't get a chance to attend this evening. So as I stated before, we want to give our presenters, their time back, the rest of the time back today, and just thank them so much for showing up and participating, and just giving us all of this helpful information regarding your transfer process today. I can hang back tight for a couple of minutes before we head out, just for any additional questions, and then after that time, then I'll require for everybody to just follow up with me via email for questions and concerns.
And can I say one last point? I want to also thank all of you guys, but Detroit Promise, with just the notion of them partnering with the institutions, that's money there. When you put that combination with our money, oftentimes students don't come out of pocket. Again, the key is doing things early and often. And so if you do that, and because we have some elaborate websites, as Bibi mentioned, the scholarship universe, but there's talent scholarships for students in fine arts, in music, dance, and theater, for example. There's athletic scholarships. So there's a whole host. There's a lot of wealthy donors who are Wayne State alums who give us money. Dan Gilbert, that's the guy that owns half of downtown Detroit, right? So there's money to be had. So seek every avenue and don't leave no stone unturned. That's my advice. And sometimes when you really, really get desperate, go to the financial aid offices of the schools that you're planning on attending. That includes Wayne State, and say, is there other institutional aid that maybe I'm not aware of? I found that out when I had to come up with $2,000 in one day when I was an undergrad student. They had a rainy day fund. And so that bailed me out. So don't hesitate to ask. These people are here, and then we always have an open door policy. There's, like she mentioned, there's no appointment needed. You can just walk in the Welcome Center and we will set up an appointment with you as you walk in. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Yes, and that was a great point too. I remember when I was in undergrad, my first semester at Western, and I couldn't afford my books. And I remember the program that I was a part of, which was like an alpha program, but it was for students who either had a low high school GPA or a low ACT score. And I got connected with a mentor once I got admitted into Western, and that mentor connected me with one of her coworkers, and next thing I know, they walked me to the bookstore with a book scholarship, and they bought all of my books, and it was a great experience. But as Nick kind of mentioned, it is going to be important that as college students that you maintain this attitude of seeking out information, because it's out there. It's just that you got to be the type of individual that you go and you find it, and a lot of times you just have to ask. Make sure that you're seeking out these resources, and that you're asking all of these questions, and you should be good. But other than that, yeah, I have just like a couple of minutes here. If anybody had any questions, if you prefer to follow up via email, then that's fine. I'm